Hi everybody, welcome back to How to Become a Dental Specialist in Canada, Part 2. So this is for dental specialists working abroad and that want to come to Canada and become licensed specialists here. Part 2 will talk about the DSATP, the university programs, and the NDSE exam. If you haven't watched Part 1, please go watch that first. That's where we discuss the application, the DSCKE exam, strategies, and everything around that. So please, you have to watch that one before you watch this. And if you have already, so let's go forward and get started with this video. All right, welcome back to part 2 of how to become a specialist in Canada. We're going to continue from where we left off in part 1. That's where you finished the DSCKE exam. And now we're going to do something similar. It's going to be summary slides first, and then we're going to go to a few open tabs I have in the browser to go through some more details and links. Okay, so where we finished in part 1 was you did the DSCKE exam, right? Your results were sent to you. There's no pass and fail. It's just a score, and they're also sent to universities that have the DSATP program. And we talked about the strategies and how to take the exams as well. So what is the DSATP? It's the Dental Specialty Assessment and Training Program. So this is what you're trying to get into. As we mentioned, this is the university part. Just like how in the indirect process for general dentists, you have to sometimes, if you want to do the indirect, you go to university, like IDAP at UFT. This is DSATP. It's the university part after your DSCKE. Also is a university gap training. So what they're trying to do is make sure there's no gaps between your knowledge and the knowledge of specialists here in Canada. And if there is a gap, they want to, pretty much fill in those gaps and help you with that, right? So they will train you and prepare you as well for the NDSE exam, okay? So there's an initial assessment and duration of a minimum of 3 to a maximum of 12 months. So maximum, these programs are 1 year, okay? So unfortunately, not all the universities offer these programs. That's why it's very competitive and you have limited seats. It's only offered at 3 universities across Canada, UFT and University of British Columbia, UBC, and University of Alberta. So number of individuals accepted into these programs will be limited, okay? And they also mention which specialties are not being accepted for that year. Okay, so which specialties do we have in Canada? We already talked about this a little bit. I'm going to repeat it here. These are the specialties accepted. Dental public health, you'll see 2 programs, one at UFT and the other at UBC. So UFT, University of Toronto, and University of British Columbia. Endodontics, same thing. Okay, University of Toronto and UBC, University of British Columbia. Okay, oral medicine, anything that's a 2 is at UFT and British Columbia University. So you're either in, British Columbia or in Ontario for these programs. Pediatric dentistry, same thing. UFT or British Columbia, Perio, and Proso, same thing. Now, ortho is UFT, British Columbia, and University of Alberta. So in other words, Alberta University only has ortho. That's the last thing I saw about it. When I looked it up on their website, I couldn't find a detailed process. Okay, so that's something you have to maybe contact them to get more info about. Now, maxillofacial radiology and surgery. So if you're a surgeon from abroad, that you're a maxillofacial surgeon, you're coming to Canada to become a specialist, you only have one option, and that's U of T. So that's why you have to think of these things as well. It's more competitive for surgeons, you could say there's more options for orthodontists, for other specialties, but for surgeons and radiologists, there's only one program, and that's at UFT for each, right? So let's look at one university at a time. Let's start with University of Toronto, the DSATP for that university. Okay, they offer all 9 programs. They're the only one. And look how, when I went to their website for the 2021, for recently, I saw it said, besides some specialties, no spaces for 2021. Look at pediatric, no spaces. So you have to check. Just because they offer all of them, it doesn't mean they're going to offer all of them every year, right? Which even makes it more limited. right? So if there's no spaces for pediatric dentistry or perio, then you have to wait until there is. So this is why it is a risky process. When I mentioned in part 1, I said it's costly, relatively costly compared to AFK ACJ, and if you're only relying on this DSCKE pathway alone, then it's somewhat risky. That's why I said the better strategy is to do AFK ACJ, then look into DSCKE. And if you need help with that, as I said, consult us, book your free consult, and we'll talk about it, right? So this is the UFT specialties so next year, this could be not there, right? They could have a different specialty that's full. Okay, so how does it run there? It's a 1-year course at UFT. So 12 months consists of 2 phases. The 3 first months is an assessment phase. So I guess they kind of check what knowledge you have. And then the 9 months is a gap training phase where they complete your knowledge and figure out where you have gaps and basically prepare you. Usually it starts at UFT June 1st. This is the one I found now. It starts June 1st. The application deadline for that will be March 31st. Okay. Application deadline will be March 31st. Okay. So if we draw a timeline now from this knowledge that we have, right? Let's look at June. Let's make June here because push it a little bit. So June 1, right? Let's say it's a certain year. This is where the DSATP starts, right? The application deadline, let's say, is in March. So March, April, May, right? April and May. So you have 3 months before the start, the application will close for this program because they still have to check your application, review it, do interviews and stuff. Okay, now let's look at the DSCKE, just to kind of connect things together here, right? So the DSCKE, let's say you did it in September, right? Then you might get your results in 6 weeks. So you get your results in, let's just October, let's just say end of October, right? October, November time. So then here you have to apply for your university DSATP program, right? Now, if you happen to do the exam, the DSCKE in the Feb one, right? If you happen to do it in Feb, then you cannot do this. You're not going to get into the June, right? You won't get into the June DSATP because you're not going to have enough time by the time you get your score. So that's why you want to do it in maybe September, ideally, and you want to prepare. So in Feb, you could start preparing for the September, right? So the better strategy is maybe in March and Feb, you start taking courses like AFK, ACJ to prepare. Would that be enough? Yeah, for August and September. So Feb, you could prepare August, September exam. And then in September, once you do it, you'll get your score in time to apply for the June. So we'll try to redraw this. I'm just kind of giving you an initial idea of how it is. Now the fees for this, okay. The fees for this they say on the website it varies. They said in 2020 and 2021 cycle, that cycle, it was approximately 71,000 Canadian. Okay, so, and they say it and it depends on how long it takes you to complete the program. So maybe you couldn't complete it in a year and you needed longer, so you're paying more. So now they're saying that year cycle is around 71,000. So if you add the 6,500 from before and there's an application fee, you're looking at around 80,000. Like you could say safely, maybe you need 100,000 for this process just to have a little margin there. Okay, a little cushion just in case. So that's what you're looking at. Now, how do you apply? Complete the application form. Of course, there's an application form. You're going to pay a non-refundable fee of $275. So when you get into the program, you can kind of assume things are good now. You just have to complete the program and you do the remaining part. But just getting in is the difficult part. So up till now, you have invested DSCKE exam plus the application for this. The whole DSCKE was $6,500 plus this application now is $67,500. 50. So you're probably running around 7,000 with uncertainty of what's going to happen if you're even going to get a seat in this program. Okay. Documents. What documents do you need? You have to send your documents to them. Of course, proof of Canadian citizenship or permanent residence, all Canadian, all academic documents, all that part, the degree, the specialty degree, the transcripts, especially transcripts, notarized copies of that, plus translations if you are not in a country that was primarily English. Here, you might have some extra things. 1 page about current activities and when you last practiced your specialty, you write that. A current CV or resume. You need 2 letters of recommendation and proof of English abilities. I wrote this wrong. TOEFL. There's TOEFL, MELAB, IELTS, COPE, ESL. So these are all accepted by UFT. I recommend you focus on TOEFL or IELTS. And I have a reason why. Okay. It's because these are usually accepted by the other ones, by UBC as well. Okay. So you don't want to do more than one. You just do one of these and they're usually accepted across the board. And even for, RCSO purposes as well. Then if they look at, so what are they also getting? They're also getting your DSCKE score. Okay. They're getting that forwarded from when you did the exam. So they're going to look at all this information. Then they'll see, hey, should we call this person for an interview? You come and you do your interview. You'll be informed if you are invited or not to the interview by email. And if they go like, okay, this is a good candidate and they accept you, you're successful, you have to leave a deposit of $2,000. Okay. Now this deposit is applied to the 71,000. Okay. So it's not additional. That's what I understood. It's a deposit for the program just to book your seat. All right. So that's pretty much it for the UFT one. Here's a little glance of the DSATP at UFT. Number of places available varies by subject and each year. So again, length of program is 12 months. Okay. Assessment phase, gap phase, eligibility. You have to be a specialty, a graduate of a non-accredited dental specialty. And for UFT, you have to be a Canadian citizen or have permanent residency. And you have to prove English abilities. The outcome, you will be eligible to take the NDSE exam for getting your NDSE certificate. And then you'll be able to register to practice in any province. Here's the deadlines, right, that we discussed already. All right, let's look at UBC, University of British Columbia. Their specialties are these ones. Okay. Now, I saw a website by a Canadian dental something, but I saw a website that had less than these, had 2 less. But on their website, University of British Columbia, they had these specialties. So I'm going to trust their website. And then if there's any updates, you check the website as well and contact them as well. But this is what I found on their website. Okay, it's a 1-year program as well. This one starts in July or August, so a little bit after UFT, but the application deadline is the same, March 31st. So you could plan for this process kind of for both universities, right, in a way. Now, the fees that they had it's a little bit more, 88,000, right? So if you add on the 7,000 from the DSCKE, that's, around now 95. So that's why I'm saying a good margin is to have thinking like this whole thing is going to cost 100K. Okay. Now the issue is not maybe that, because once you get in, the program, you're going to complete it. The issue is maybe the initial risk of the 7,000 that you don't know if you're even going to get a seat, right? Now, I'm going to state first a little bit of a few differences between the UBC one and the UFT one. So we talked about the start date, similar, close, but look at this. Do not require Canadian citizenship or permanent residence. Okay. But if you don't have those, then you do need a proof of a valid work permit. So what they're saying here is you can use a work permit or work visa, but this work permit or work visa has to have an expiry date that extends to the conclusion of the DSATP program. So if you enter the DSATP of UBC on July of 2022, right, it will end maybe, let's say, July 2023. your expiry for your work visa has to be after July 2023. This is what I understood from this. So you have to make sure your work permit or visa expires after completing the program. You have to show proof of that, okay? So that's one difference. They're not saying you have to be a citizenship or permanent resident, even though they'll accept that, but you could be on work visa or work permit. Now, another difference I noticed is it doesn't say you have to have, it doesn't just say specialty, a non-accredited specialty program. It says must have complete a minimum of 2-year recognized specialty training program and hold a DMD or its equivalent from a recognized university. So that's kind of different. They're saying a minimum of 2 years. So you could have done maybe a 2-year specialty program. I have some dentists contacting me saying they've done like a 2-year in France or a 2-year there where they get something and it's recognized. So that means for you, maybe your only option is University of British Columbia. But in UFT, they didn't say minimum 2 year. They said something recognized. So I don't know if they mean they do accept the 2 year or they want like a full master's 4-year program, right? That's another clarification. So if you've done 4 years, you're pretty much good in both universities. But if you've done 2 years, you'll probably need to check UFT if they'll, let you in, or you'll be okay with UBC, right? All right, so these British Columbia University has an online application form, so you have to do it online, okay? Then there's a non-refundable fee of $476. That's like double of the UFT fee, sure. So you're already here at $7K almost of payment before knowing what's going to happen to you, right? Documents, pretty much similar. Proof of Canadian citizenship, PR, or this is the new thing, valid work permit, visa with a valid expiry date. All academic documents from university, same thing, your dental degree, dental specialty degree, translations, all that. English proof. So these in UBC, they accept TOEFL and IELTS. That's why I say it's better to do TOEFL and IELTS, or one of them, obviously, because they're accepted in both. Here it says they want 3 reference letters from certified specialists or full-time academic members. All right, or domestic or international. A CV and a personal statement, like maybe why you want to do this and, because what's your goals and stuff like that, okay? I think that's what they mean by that. All right. Now, once you do your application, again, your DSCKE will be already forwarded to them, right, from the NDEB. And candidates will be then invited to an assessment phase. So here, it's not an interview, okay? They invite you to an assessment phase. The assessment phase is still not, what I understood from this is it still means that, or it doesn't mean that you got in yet, okay? But you still have to pay for it, okay, which kind of sucks. So around non-refundable $10,000 to secure a place in the assessment phase. Now, if you get in, it will go towards the program, which is $88,000, okay? So you have to pay $78 left, for example. But if you don't get in, it's non-refundable. So the risk now is increased to $17K if you go to UBC, okay? Because this is what I understood, and you could do your own research and check, okay? Following the assessment phase, candidates will receive the decision within 2 weeks of the assessment phase. So there's a decision. That means what I understood from that is that you could pay the $10,000, do the DSCKE, apply for this, get into the assessment phase, pay a total of $17,000, and you don't know if you're going to get in or not, right? And then applicants admitted will start the program in July or August or sooner. Okay. Now, the University of Alberta, they only have ortho, but I couldn't find any information or enough information on the website. So you could check that for yourself if you really want to. Okay. And that's pretty much it for this. So upon successful completion of the program, the Faculty of Dentistry will provide a certificate of completion. So once you're done, they will give you a certificate of completion of this program, and they'll forward a letter to the Royal College of Dentists of Canada. This is for specialists, confirming successful completion of this program. Then you'll be eligible to apply and write the National Dental Specialty Examination, NDSE, by the Royal College. Okay, so then you could write the NDSE exam, which at that point, I think you'll have a lot of sources to learn about this exam from your mentors at the university, and they'll prepare you for it, right? We'll go over it a little bit. But now what I want to do is redraw the timeline again, just to review it with you, okay? So what could be a strategy for this thing? for this whole system. Okay, if March 31st, right, is your deadline to apply, either for UBC or UFT. Okay, so both UBC and UFT. And then after, you have, it starts in how many months? Maybe in June for UFT, or July or August, right? So these two are for UBC, and this is for UFT. And then UBC does say probably sooner, right? So this is where the program starts, DSATP. This is apply for deadline. Okay, so you need to have your score for the DSCKE here, ideally, right? So that means you don't really want to do the one that's in Feb if there is one, right? It'd probably be smarter to do the one in September. So I'm trying to work backwards with you. So if you do the exam that's in September or August of the year before, that's when you do your DSCKE, and then you have 6 weeks for your results that will come out. Let's go with the later date, September, October. Let's say you got it in November, then you still have, until how many months? November, December, Jan, Feb, right? 4 months to apply, to prepare for DSATP. Now, how do you, again, we said the strategy to prepare DSCKE. I talked about that in the first video. Go check them out. But anyway, anything before that you do would be useful. So some people did the ACJ course that we have as a DSCKE program just 2 months before the exam, for example, 2 to 3 months maybe, or 2 months. You could contact us for that. So let's say it's like somewhere here, September, August. So you have June, July. So it'll be like around June and July, right? May, June, July. So maybe around here, you could do the ACJ course if that's all you want to do. If you want to do an AFK full, right, plus ACJ, what I would recommend in that case is maybe, like, one way of doing it is taking the AFK that we have that starts, in this case, it will start in March, right? March, you take our AFK course. And then you would have enough knowledge. And then at the end here, take our DSCKE course where you only get the ACJ. Okay, so you could prepare the AFK part from March, June, July, like all the way up to there. Then in the last 2 months, focus on ACJ more, because as we said, most of the exams are going to be ACJ style, possibly 70%. And also the ACJ is the more, it's playing a heavier, has a more weight, because people doing this exam, everybody knows what regular MCQ questions are, like AFK style questions. But most, if you haven't done ACJ, you're going to be surprised by how the ACJ questions are. So you need training for that. You do. Okay, so at least do an ACJ course. So I think this is a good timeline if you want to only do DSCKE. Now, if you go with what I recommend, which is doing your AFK, right? Like actually doing your AFK course, right? For the AFK exam, then doing an ACJ course for your ACJ exam. Then after that, you could just figure out when you want to do the DSCKE, because you're already prepared, right? You already paid for those courses. You already passed the exams. You've kind of, did two things at once, right? That's the smarter way, I think. Okay, but if you want to just do the DSCKE, this is how the timeline looks. So it seems like it would be smarter to do the one in September, so that you could directly go into the, you could apply for the university DSATP. If you happen to do the one, let's say in Feb, then you're going to have to wait, I think, for the next year, unless there's 2 cycles that happen if the DSATP. That I do not know. I only saw one in there, like one date for the upcoming one. So I'm not sure of that. You have to check with the universities, okay? So I think that's a good idea of the timeline. I hope that, you could use this to your benefit and understand when you need to start. So you could see it pretty much starts almost a year until you get 1 year at least to prepare and do the DSCKE. That's after you apply even, right? or you could do this even before you wait while you're waiting for your approval, and then another year in school, right? So 1 year in the university, and then possibly a few months for the NDSE exam. So you could say 2 years and a bit, you'll be specialist. Okay. So that's DSATP, everything you need to know there so far. Now, once you have done that program, pretty much you're done, right? Congratulations if you have done that. The National Dental Specialty Examination, that's what you want to do next. That's like the board exam, like similar to OSCE and written exam for the GPs. Individuals who have completed a specialty program recognized by the CADAC, including dental. So everybody has to do this exam, even if you're a specialist from a Canadian university, or you see including dental specialty assessment and training, which is DSAT, or you're in the final 6 months of an accredited dental specialty, you could do this exam. Just in case you're wondering what CDAC, this is what it stands for. So what's the format of the NDSE? I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because it differs based on specialty. And I think when you're at that level, you're going to have way more better sources to see how the exam is like. You're going to be with mentors that already done it in your specialty, and they're going to give you a lot more information about the exam. So it covers general specialty knowledge, including basic sciences, clinical diagnosis, treatment planning. It's a 6-hour exam electronically. You get 1 or more breaks. Number of questions depends on the specialty. Each specialty has its own protocol you can check, and the results you get are around 10 weeks or around 2 months. And it's a pass and fail. You have to get above 75, okay? Even the marking for each question is different based on the specialty. All right, so here, I mean, the fees are less important because you're done, right? So you're not worried about the risk of not getting in or something. So you could add them to the total. That's why I said it's going to go up to 100K, right? So application to apply for this is $450, it's non-refundable. Then the exam fee is $7,000 for the NDSE examination. Dates and location. So you could add this to the timeline. The exam date that I see coming up is June. So I'm going to start backwards. So it's June 2022. Okay. So you could be like finishing your program and then going into the exam. All right. So now, registration deadline, however. Okay, so this probably adds to the timeline. Registration deadline is May. So that's 1 month before the exam. So you have to register 1 month before the exam. But you have to apply. So there's an app. Remember, there's an application and then there's an exam fee to register for the exam. So to apply first, that, hey, I want to probably do this. Like, look, I finished this program to apply. That deadline is April, which is 2 months before the exam, okay? And they open applications for the NDSE. They open it in Jan. That's 6 months before the exam, which means you have 4 months before the deadline of the application, okay? And where are these exams done? Prometric centers in Canada and the United States. So now, different than DSCKE, they are held also as of now in the United States as well in Prometric centers, and you'll get that list once you're able to register. So that's just a little bit of, summary of the NDSE. Let's go back and maybe also add it to the timeline just to see. So I want to put it actually, I'm going to draw a small one here, okay? So as we said, you're preparing for your DSCKE. Let's say that one is in September. You get your results. This is DSCKE. You'll get your results in November or let's say November. That's when you get your results. Then you're going to apply for the before March 31st. That's the deadline for the DSATP. You get into that, let's say around June, July. Okay. That is 1 year. So now you're going to June, July of the next year. So my question is, you have to be able to apply to this in April. In April, you have April and May. So the question is, can you apply to this if you don't have your certificate of completion? So this is what I'm thinking now. The deadline is April, so you have to probably apply even in March, like to send your stuff, right? I don't know if they'll, because in one of the things it said 6 months in your final program, but I'm assuming that's like a specialty accredited program. But for this one, you probably have to get that certificate. So if you get your certificate after a year, let's say here, doesn't this mean you have to wait another year to do this? Unless they do the NDSE more than once, right? And possibly they do. So this is the only dates I found on the website. So you want to maybe see any updates for it, or if in the next cycle they do open another date, but I didn't find anything about that on the website. So there is a chance, there is a risk that if you do it, then there's also one more year just waiting for the exam. If this information is the only information, if this is the only date. So that means you have to wait for the next, exam that happens in June, right? So it could be 3 years then, right? And you're paying around 100K pretty much. And then that's other than life expenses. Okay. Again, this is why we say, hey, good idea is to finish the entire GP part first, make money, then do this, or do it as you're doing the direct process, just so that you're doing two things at once. In case this doesn't work out, at least you have the GP pathway open for you that you're starting already. Okay, so now we're done with our slides and you have the timeline and you understand it better. We're going to go now to the browsers, to the tabs we have. Okay, there you go. So I found, some sample questions for the DSECK, so you could kind of pause and just look through. This is like AFK style questions, right? And you can see here, this is an ACJ style question, like a case, and then you have multiple options and you could have one or more correct answers. Okay, right, you can get x-rays and stuff like that. So this is something I didn't mention in part 1, so just thought it would be nice to show it to you. Okay, let's look at the universities now. Just an easy way to get to this page, guys. Just go to your Google search and type, all right, DASTP UFT, right? Space UFT. You'll get this page. You'll find it. Then, or type sorry, I messed up the letters. DSATP UFT or UBC, and you'll get this page. That's the fastest way to get to it. If you're wondering how I can't find it at the university website, don't go to the University of Toronto website, then look for it. It's easier if you just type in Google DSATP space UFT or DSATP space UBC, something like that. And you can see all the information we had is right here. So you're familiar with all this now. The specialties are offered at a glance. What makes you eligible? So you can see how they say have completed a specialty dental program not recognized by, so they didn't say a minimum of 2 years or anything. Okay, the application deadline, sure. Okay, and then here is, you have all the documents in detail. So complete this paper application. It's a form, PDF form, not online, like not as cool as the UBC one, I guess. Pay a non-refundable fee. And then you have all the documents. I summarize it a bit saying, academic documents, but here they're saying the specialty degree, the notarize, the translate, and all this stuff, right? So you have to go through all this and send these things. Here's the English tests that are accepted and their scores, if you want to know exactly what score you need from each exam. So I recommend doing TOEFL or IELTS. I did TOEFL when I wanted to go to UFT, so TOEFL, and got accepted at that time. And then you have the interviews. They'll tell you like, okay, we'll contact you. And that's how much does it cost? It's around $71,000 for this year, but they don't know. It varies. Okay. If you have any questions, here's the email and their contact info. All right. So that's pretty much it for the UFT one. Okay. And if you go here, wait, let's see what's going on over here. So if you are qualified in a country not listed above, you'll be considered non-accredited. So these are the ones that are accredited, okay? Just like the NDEB process. What's this? This is the UFT application for the DSATP, right? Application deadline. So you have to send this in. You can see, fill in your name, your address. Pretty straightforward, okay? And then your educational stuff, employment record, yep, 2 pages. Some checklists for all the other stuff you need. So pretty cool. Nice of them to have all this here. So you could download this from their website and just make sure you have everything. So let's see, if I were here, where would I find this? I think it's right here. See, click on this and you'll get that paper. Okay, so that's pretty much it for UFT. Now UBC, you can see, let's look here, admission requirements. You know, here's where they said the thing that you could do it with a work visa or permit, academic requirements, minimum of 2 years. And they give you an example. For example, who wishes to do the SAT for ortho must have previously completed a minimum 2-year recognized specialty training program in ortho. Obviously, don't go do endo outside and come here trying to do ortho or something like that, right? Pretty straightforward. You have to have this done, the DSCKE. Here's the English test that they use. Application process. So you can see here, apply online. You click on it and it gives you this thing. So you keep going with that and figuring it out if you want to apply, right? It's an online application, not a form. Non-refundable fee, 3 letters of references, and all the applications that they want. All the documents, okay? Here you have selection of candidates. So here they're saying about the 10,000 non-refundable to get a seat in the assessment phase. And then you'll know within 2 weeks if you have been accepted. Fees for the entire program, they're saying here it's around 88,000, but they calculated CPR certificate, immunization review, library card, limited registration. Yeah, these things. But the actual program, they don't have one like the actual. Yeah, here. Oh, okay, it's 88. That's the actual program. This is the total if you add on these other things. So it might be 89,000. Okay, pretty much. Here's about the specialties they offer. So you want to check that to make sure that which cycles, like what specialties they have that year. Okay. And that's pretty much it. If you want to contact them, here's their contact info. Again, to get to this page, you type DSATP in Google space and then University of British Columbia, and you'll find this easily in one of your links. All right, this is a website I found that was talking about. It's there, Association of Canadian Faculties of Dentistry. They also are explaining the pathways here, and I found which universities that here they're mentioning that which specialties they do. So you could see this one. They mentioned that University of British Columbia had only 5 specialties. So I couldn't find a date on which this was written, just to see which one. I think the website, I'm assuming the website would be more updated, okay? Now you're done the DSATP. I'm looking here at the NDSE exam. It's currently closed. Application for 2022 NDSE will open on Jan 3rd, okay? So here's some stuff about eligibility. And you could click on that. So how do you get to that page? Let me kind of show you. You go here and you can see it's all under one thing. Here, this is DSCKE and here's the NDSE. So you could, and under here, you could find all the specialties. So you could ignore that at the beginning because you could do that. Well, if you want to look into your specialty, you can. And then you have the overview, how to apply and dates and all that. So let's see the dates. So this is the dates I brought to you in the summary. Okay. And so far, I don't see another date to know if it's done twice a year or once a year. Okay. Here is application. Okay, I'm going through this so you can see program duration. Oh, look, I found, wait. You must have. Okay, the following minimum duration. Okay, so some specialties, they're saying here the minimum duration 2 years, right? Oh, my camera shut off. All right. So you can see here, this is a good kind of source. For maxillofacial radiology, 3-year minimum, perio 3-year, maxillofacial 4-year, 3-year prosto 4-year. Okay, some of them accept 2-year, like ortho, endo, pediatric, and so this is a good, thing to keep or screenshot, right? It's a good source. And then you have your eligibility. I think you would know this by the time you're there. You're done your DSATP, so it's pretty straightforward. Let's see. Okay, so you could go through this if you want. I like that we found those minimum requirement thing. Now, I'm going to close this. And you can see here the fees for this exam, 7,000 plus the application fee. We talked about that in the slides. I'm going to close that as well. Here's an overview. You know, you can see format and content depends, right, on the exam. So what happens if we just click on one of these specialties like endo? Okay, so it's a branch of dentistry. Okay, cool. Format and content. Again, it's just going to take you to this, which is a general how to prepare thing. So I feel like their website is all linked together. Okay, now here, this is a good one. So when you click on the protocol, okay, I think I already even have this open in one of the tabs, but I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. You can see now here they have each specialty. So if you click down, they'll show you check-in. Format is right here, 6-hour exam. Content depends. Okay. And then if you keep going down, I found so for example, here's NDSE for dental public health. Okay. And you could see what their content is mainly. Just going to make this a bit smaller for you guys here. Okay. Okay, and then you could keep scrolling and you'll find each specialty. Like here's endo's orange, right? And you could, if you're looking into this, you could see then what your specialty says, like what they're looking for. Oh, here's like an endo case, for example, a sample case for endo, right? Yeah, that's pretty neat. Like, I think I could even probably do an exam similar to that. And a prosto right here. Let's see how the cases look like. So you can see they're also similar to ACJ mixed with AFK questions, right? So each exam, each specialty is different. Here is pediatric. Looks like there's mainly AFK, also ACJ style. So keep going. You could look into your own specialty here. Interesting stuff. This is the same one. Same one. I just clicked it a bunch of times. So that's how you get to the NDSE stuff there. Okay, all this here is general stuff, and how to prepare is one page. So we pretty much covered most of these. So what happens if I go to this one? Just, okay, it tells you some concepts about each specialty. So if you want to read more about each specialty, you could go here, go there, and see what they have on the NDEB website. That's one way. Oh, I'm trying to get it. Okay, one way is doing this. Or the other way is going to how to prepare, and then click on this protocol. And then you'll get this document or this PDF here that has each specialty as well. That's for the NDSE. All right, so I'm pretty much done, I think, with all of this stuff. Oh, that looks kind of weird, doesn't it? So yeah, so okay. So I hope that was beneficial to all of you. Let's review one last time the things. I know you're probably done with it, but if you go back all the way to the beginning, okay? And remember, this is what we're doing. You're applying, right? Doing the DSCK. This could be any time before the exam. Most likely, you might be somewhere in September, right? So that you could get into the DSATP in June or July, because you want to apply before the deadline, which is March 31st. So everything before this, give yourself 6 to 8 months application, and plus preparation, and you could consult us so we could see which courses are best for you. Okay, and then once you're done with this program, it's going to be probably 1 year. You may need to wait for another year to do the NDSE if it's done in June. You have to look into that when you get there. And then that's pretty much it. That's a summary, everyone. Please, if you are looking into this, book a consult so we could talk about it and figure out the best way you want to do it. And also, you could always come back to these videos to review the process. And if there's any updates, please, you could leave them in the comments that something has been updated. If I missed anything, help each other out, okay? We're a community. Let's help each other out in these processes, the equivalency stuff for dentists. Put them in the comments so that other people could benefit as well, in case there's something I missed. All right, everybody. That's it for now. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.